Ahkello Witherspoon signs with the Seattle Seahawks on a one-year deal worth $4 million. Mitchell Renz, Chase Sr. here, ready to break everything down for y'all around the Seattle Seahawks. Witherspoon spent last season with the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of people are saying this is a potential Shaq Griffin replacement. I'm going to simply say this. You're not really going to replace Shaq Griffin with Witherspoon. However, I do think it's still a pretty solid move.
It is, and it's much needed given that Shaq Griffin signed a pretty large contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Since the Legion of Boom got old and fell apart, the Seahawks defense has not been the same. And that has been Pete Carroll's staple, is the defensive side of the football. They've been atrocious on that side of the ball, really for the last couple of years. A big part of that, they haven't been able to generate a pass rush. Also, they've been weak on the back end. This is kind of a buy low, get good value and potential high upside signing by bringing in Ahkello Witherspoon.
I agree with that.
This is a player that was really valued by the San Francisco 49ers when free agency started. The 49ers had 9 DBs hitting free agency, so they couldn't afford to bring him back. So Ahkello Witherspoon, he's familiar in the NFC West because he played for San Francisco, and I actually do like this signing for Seattle. I think it gives them a lot, especially when you look at that cornerback depth chart.
Well, it's the reason why it's so thin is because the cornerback one, Shaquille Griffin, who ended up going elsewhere, signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Also, Quinton Dunbar, who they tried to trade for this past season, and it was okay. It definitely wasn't what they were hoping for. I mean, in 2019, Quinton Dunbar was, according to PFF, the second best corner in the National Football League, and what they got was, well, just definitely not that. And considering the fact that Seattle was on pace to give up the most passing yards in the NFL history, luckily for them, their schedule got a lot easier, but their offense also started to struggle down the stretch of the season. So maybe that's the exact same reason teams weren't trying to throw as much. The bottom line is this. You're in an NFC West division that, sure, Jimmy Garoppolo is a question mark, but San Francisco, that's a legit team. You got the L.A. Rams now who have Matthew Stafford. That's a legit team. And, I mean, you got the Arizona Cardinals now. A.J. Green, I mean, that's a legit team, plus with DeAndre Hopkins. So you need to be able to stop the pass. Seahawks just simply can't do that. So it's a one-year, $4 million deal. The Seattle Seahawks have signed Ahkello Witherspoon. What I want you to do is go down in the comments. Let me know, grade the deal. A, B, C, D, or F. A is great, B is good, C is average, D is bad, F is failing. I'm going to give it a C grade. It's an average move for me. Obviously, he's not going to be able to fill the shoes of Shaquille Griffin, but it does fill a major need, but they did go a little bit cheaper. I'm going C. Where do you stand?
He's not going to be some shutdown corner that's going to lock in and lock down the opposing team's number one wide receiver.
Agreed.
But it's a solid pickup. I'll go B-.
Another B. You're just way too nice here. So what exactly is he going to be able to bring to the Seattle Seahawks defense? He definitely fits the prototype for a corner, and what do I mean by that? Long, lanky. That's what they love in Seattle. They want somebody who's got the long arms, long legs, freak athletic ability. Sure, he's getting up there a little bit, but he still can get it done. Coming off the best year in the NFL, which I agree with that. I might also say it's because the 49ers defense is definitely no slouch. I get that they had a lot of injuries, no doubt about that. But this is what he did in 11 games here. Okay, 59.4% completion percentage. That's impressive.
Yep.
Allowed only 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 4 pass breakups. What about 2019, though? This is in 10 games. 56.6% completion percentage, 376 yards. The touchdown numbers definitely spiked up. 1 interception, 9 pass breakups. I think the touchdowns went up a little bit there because nobody was throwing at Richard Sherman, who was having an incredible season, so they started to pick on him a little bit. But the biggest reason why this deal ultimately happened was the plan A was this. We want to figure out a way to bring back Shaquille. He signs big in Jacksonville for 3 years. I believe it was like $44.5 million. It's not that Seattle didn't want him back. They just couldn't offer that type of money for that type of player with all the other needs that they have on the offensive line, because they still need to be able to build that offensive line if you want to keep Russell Wilson happy. 25 years old. I'm excited for Shaquille Griffin, but he's got a new home now in Jacksonville. The next question is, do you try to bring back Quinton Dunbar, who, again, is a free agent, was the number 2 cornerback last year, didn't play all that well, had some injuries as well. Do you think that they're going to try to bring back Dunbar, or do you think they're going to let him go?
I think they do, and I know I gave the Ahkello Witherspoon signing a B-. The problem with him is that he's been really injured, off-injured over the last 3 years.
Correct.
So what does that mean? You need some depth, and you need some other playmakers in that secondary. Quinton Dunbar is a player who's experienced, so I do think it's really important for Seattle to bring him back.
All right, so will Seattle bring back Quinton Dunbar? If you don't care what Chase and I have to say, it's all good. It's part of the biz. Give me a Y for yes, or I want you to type N for no. Seriously, will Seattle bring back Quinton Dunbar? Y for yes, or N for no. One of my favorite players re-signs with the Seattle Seahawks, Poona Ford. He was basically an unknown name in 2018, and the more and more he plays, the more and more he's going to become a household name. He was a restricted free agent, but the Seahawks said, you know what, man, we got to figure out a way to end up bringing this guy back because he has been that good. 2-year deal worth $14 million, and when you look at Ford, he is one of the best stoppers in terms of up the middle. There's been a lot of question marks around that Seattle defense. There's been a lot of question marks on whether or not they can get after the quarterback. Poona Ford's been a great bright spot, and the fact that they were able to get him back for, I'll say actually a pretty reasonable deal speaks volumes, but it's also credit to Poona Ford, who knew, I think, okay, salary cap's a little bit down this year. If I can continue to play at a high level, 2 years from now when the cap goes way up, I'm going to be able to really cash in at a position that he is definitely going to be a major need.
Can't wait to work off of that because I look at the contract that Poona Ford signed. I look at the player and his ability, what he brings to that Seattle defense, both in the run game and then the pass game. Poona Ford is a really good businessman. You know why? Because he's only 25 years old. And he realized, like you said, Mitch, the salary cap is down this year, about $16 million. So what does he do? Signs a 2-year deal worth $14 million. That's $7 million average annual value.
Math.
He's only 25 years old. So now he's going to be able to hit free agency again when he's 27, still in his prime. And if he continues to play like he's played the last couple of years, he'll be due for another big payday. So Poona Ford, good businessman and a greater name.
Rate the Ford re-signing. I'm a little upset we didn't go with rate the Poona re-signing. Scale of 1 to 100. Go down in the comments and let us know. You can't type 69. I'm going to go ahead and say it's an 80 for me. I think it's a great move for Seattle. It's a great move for him as well. I don't know what type of contract he's going to get, but if he keeps playing the way that he's played, Leonard Williams just signed a 3-year, $63 million deal. I actually think that he could be in that ballpark if the Seattle Seahawks have that type of money, or if they don't, I guarantee another team is. So go ahead, rate the Ford re-signing. I'm giving it about an 80. Where you sit?
I'm going to break the B barrier, and I'm going to go to a 90. That is an A on the 10-point grade scale. So Poona Ford signing with the Seahawks, 90.
All right, so he's no doubt the best run stopper on this defense, and he's a little bit undersized, but he's done an absolute great job in Seattle, and he's going to continue to do a great job in Seattle. The other reason why I like him, and I'll tip my cap here to Pete Carroll, they don't always do a great job drafting in the first round, but they've done a very good job of finding some of these diamonds in the rough, and that's exactly what Ford is. Here are his numbers in 2020, 40 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. He's actually one of the highest graded defensive tackles in the National Football League, according to Pro Football Focus as well. Here are his numbers in 2019 in 15 games. 32 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, a sack, 0 forced fumbles. But how about this? We're even going to go back to his very first year. This is the year where, sure, he did struggle just a little bit more. However, he was good in 2018. He was great in 2019, and then he was, I'll even say this word, elite in 2020. He continues to get better. He continues to grow into his body. Sky's the limit for Poona Ford. So we're going to wrap this thing up one more time here. Witherspoon signed a 1-year deal worth $4 million, spent last season with the 49ers, is really going to try to come in and be that Shaquill Griffin replacement. Can you replace Shaquill? Not really, but he at least is an extra body, a little bit in there in terms of depth. Going to be the cornerback one. And then Poona Ford here, 2-year deal worth up to $14 million, was set to be a restricted free agent. They bring back the 25-year-old, and he's also going to get more than $4.4 million in 2021. So it's pretty interesting. Also set to hit the market at 27 years old. Really cash in. If you're a big-time Seahawks fan, go ahead and subscribe to the fastest-growing #1 Seahawks channel on YouTube. It's youtube.com/SeahawksTV.